Pickups have been evolving for a while now. It seems like every month there's a new Luxo truck or Trail Sergeant Extreme Ballbuster edition that requires a mortgage or a life insurance payout in order to afford. So today I'm going to drive the Tundra SR5 to see if we're really missing out. The SR5 sits one notch above the entry-level and hard-to-source SR trim. The SR5 can come with 3 different bed sizes, including a proper 8-foot spec. Thank you, Toyota. However, a standard cab is unavailable, something that some other brands have ditched too, which means you will be stuck with a 21-foot-long Tundra if you go with the contractor box. What I'm happy to see is a standard durable composite bed, but quite frankly, you better have stuff like that when this costs $49,000 with 4-wheel drive. With your purchase of an SR5, you will also have a dampened tailgate that also has the key operation, along with a bed rail system that gives you very versatile movable tie-down points and makes for easy loading of a camper shell if that's what you want. You will also gain a power rear window that is especially cool with the crew cab, LED fog lights to complement the LED headlights. And the SR5 will also gain 18-inch alloy wheels. But I like the basic aesthetic here. The front end is a little but I think the design is otherwise pretty fresh and utilitarian. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section.
The base SR5 isn't so fancy as to warrant body-colored mirror caps or door handles, but if you want an upscale buying experience, let me recommend Royal on the Eastside in Bloomington, Indiana, the friendly, knowledgeable, and community-focused dealership that let me test drive the Tundra for today's review. Check them out and tell them thanks for me.
You can get the SX Appearance Package for 2023, which will join the pre-existing TRD Sport and TRD Off-Road on the option list. All Tundras will have proximity entry and 9.3 inches of ground clearance with underbody protection. You can upgrade those skid plates, but Toyota does not offer tow hooks, so don't get stuck.
Stepping inside, the rear seat area has great storage underneath and behind the cushions. And while every full-size truck has a large cabin, it's nice to see that the double cab still provides space and thigh support suitable for full-size humans. At 6'3", I can fit behind myself so long as my front seat clone can make a little compromise. The Crew Max versions will add more legroom than you'll likely ever need.
So I think a lot of people, so long as they don't have giant car seats, should be okay with this extended cab size. Up front, since I don't have a sunroof, I have plenty of space. The seats here are fairly soft. They could have a little bit more thigh support, and I wish I had the optional power seat so I could get more angle out of the seat bottom and lumbar adjustment, but as it sits, it's comfortable enough, should be agreeable for most people. And you have some soft elbow rests, along with some other soft materials. The build quality and panel fitment in here is up to Toyota standards, but if you were spending, $60,000, $70,000 on one of these things, I could see it being unimpressive. Here, especially on the SR5 trim, there is a lot of cheap plastic, but it's inoffensive. Everything is clean, it's very truck-like, it's broken up nicely with the silver accents, and you have analog controls that aren't overwhelming. Sometimes you get into trucks and there's just buttons everywhere, especially with GM. Here we have an easy to read gauge cluster, easy to use matte finish toggles and buttons for the single zone automatic climate control, which you gain for the SR5.
There are also many other features available for the SR5 trim.
And praise the truck lords, you have an actual shifter. And I'm glad that they have an abundance of storage, from the massive door cards to the console, the dashboard. If you could rent out the cabin of your Tundra in Los Angeles, it would be $1,500 a month. Thankfully, on all Tundras, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard. You will stock have an 8-inch screen.
It comes with a good response time, competitive resolution, and a minimalist UI with a frustrating user setup.
But you can opt for a 14-inch unit that really just looks like a scaled up version of this, so that if you have any hitchhikers in the bed, they could also read what's on your screen.
While it's okay if you like to listen to music loud, the stock stereo system's sound quality will disappoint.
I think I would swap out the speakers in here and maybe add a subwoofer too, if I didn't want to slather on all the packages so I could get the JBL. Now, a key piece to understanding the price of the Tundra is the powertrain. So for the SR5, you will have the high output version of the twin turbo 3.4 liter V6. What I like most about this powertrain is the torque and how it pairs up with the 10-speed automatic, 389 horsepower, and 479 pound-feet of torque. That may not be enough to bring back your ex-wife, but it should be enough to tow a working class boat or a nice camper. One of the things that I love about the Tundra is that you don't need to equip this with a special final drive ratio in order to tow a lot. Just get an SR5 and you're at least 11,000 pounds. The payload capacity is a little bit less impressive, but still competitive. 0 to 60 there with a little throttle modulation came up in about 6.2 seconds. More important though, passing power, even at higher speeds, is plentiful. The transmission can downshift a couple gears as it needs to, and it's not reluctant to do so, especially when you have it in the sport mode. But even in the normal mode, it's responsive and it does not feel like it's working hard.
A big benefit from the high torque at low RPM, and the EPA says it should be efficient too.
But a common complaint for one of these things is that those ratings are kind of hard to hit. And I should mention the SR5 does not offer the hybrid powertrain either. Now, cruising at about 65 miles per hour, I mean, I'm revving at 1500 RPM. The engine seems right at home. There is noticeable wind noise, but road noise is well kept. And if you want to take this thing off-road, you have rear-wheel drive standard, four-wheel drive is available, though it is a part-time system. There's none of that fancy auto or all-wheel drive modes that some other trucks offer, though you can equip it with the TRD off-road package that will gain a rear-locking differential and various other enhancements. Piloting the Tundra on the worst road I can think of, it is okay. I would call it comfortable because nothing really jars the cabin, but you do feel most small to medium imperfections. It does shudder a little bit. You definitely feel the body cab dissonance there. I will say that the TRD Sport rode a little bit more firm, and that kind of dramatizes what I'm talking about. I think for your more traditional truck buyers, this should meet your expectations, and if you live around abysmal roads, you'll be okay, but far from impressed.
The TRD off-road package should soften things up some, but it has its own complaints from what I've heard.
The steering is pretty slow, it's vague, but I like the weighting of it. It feels very natural for a truck this size, and it's also not really a chore. Now, if I throw this around some corners with some imperfections, it kind of bounces its way through here. It's overall pretty well controlled. I mean, there is still that truck jitteriness, but it still comes off as substantial with the expected amount of body roll, but brake dive seems to be well under control. And the brakes actually bring this thing to a halt in a secure fashion, though the pedal is a little spongy and requires effort, but with a heavy vehicle having some heavy inputs, I think is excusable.
Now, if its daily purpose is to help you make money, you want it to be reliable. With the redesign, we did initially have a bad batch of turbo wastegates, but the most common issue on carcomplaints.com and NHSTA reports is an intermittently laggy throttle, sometimes delaying over 2 seconds before surging. Most reports of this are isolated to 2022. A few complained about the brakes as well. Consumer Reports says interior and exterior quality control along with the infotainment are the biggest problem areas. These kinds of things are typical after a big redesign.
I think I am hearing maybe it's either the door or the window moving against the seal, but no obnoxious rattles or creaks. The truck I'm driving does have 11,000 miles.
We'll have to see how it plays out more before I feel confident recommending this to someone who places reliability as their #1 priority. As it sits, I personally wouldn't be afraid to buy the Tundra.
Visibility out of the Tundra is okay. You actually have a low belt line, though the hood is long, it's large, and it kind of looks like you're staring out of a boat. This is the kind of vehicle that I would recommend a 360 view camera, and you can technically get that with the SR5, but it's gonna cost you a lot. Blind spot monitoring is also an option, something that this truck was equipped with.
All have adaptive cruise, lane centering, and autonomous braking standard. Overall, the Tundra SR5 is not the quintessential, affordable contractor's pickup. A true workhorse configuration is incredibly hard to find on the new truck market these days.
The Toyota still offers a lot of the practicality that you would get with a truck like that. It's just gonna cost you a fair amount more than it used to, but you also get a lot more truck while retaining a similar personality and appearance. In fact, I think I would say this has work truck energy.
It comes with impressive towing, the right size beds, and a straightforward, practical interior with cheap yet easy to clean materials. The ride quality leans toward old school truck while still providing most of the civil handling you'd expect from a modern pickup. The tech, features, and customizability are handy attributes too. You can spend more money on an upscale Tundra, which is undoubtedly nicer, but then it makes less sense. In the end, it lacks luxurious bones. Considering you don't have domestic brand trust issues, I'd probably go Ram if you're chasing something premium. That outpaces this on cabin and driving refinement. The SR5 makes the Tundra's most compelling argument. It's where the big Toyota does what it does best instead of pretending to be something it isn't. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like to help me embarrass the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe and hit the bell for more car content without fluff. Check out my Patreon for an additional podcast, and I'll catch you in the next one.